Have you ever felt trapped in a strange loop? Like every conversation about women swings between two extremes? Blind worship or quiet resentment with no space for clarity, no room for truth? Society loves to paint women as flawless nurturers, pure souls, almost morally untouchable. But what if that picture isn't real? What if it's just a mask, so perfectly crafted we've stopped asking whether it's hiding something deeper? Picture this. You're sitting across from someone, listening to them talk about love, gender, the things we call sacred. Yet, there's this nagging void inside you, a gut feeling that something's off, buried under pretty words or unspoken frustration. It's unsettling, isn't it? That flicker of doubt that keeps you up at night, wondering if what we've been told is just a story we've agreed to believe. And here's the kicker. Over a century ago, someone dared to rip that story apart. Not to tear anyone down, not to put anyone on a pedestal, but to stare straight into what's really going on. Friedrich Nietzsche, a name that might make you smirk or nod, walked right into that forbidden space. He asked the questions we're still dodging today. What's behind this perfect image? What's actually driving how we see women, how we see ourselves? This isn't some dry debate or a finger-pointing rant. It's an invitation, a chance to stop running from the messy thoughts in your head and face them head on. Because if you're tired of the sugar-coated lies or the heavy silence, maybe it's time to dig deeper. So tell me, are you ready to look? Let's step back in time over a century ago, when the world was a different place, but not so different from today. Enter Friedrich Nietzsche, a man who didn't just think outside the box, he smashed it to pieces. While everyone around him was busy either ignoring women or propping them up as fragile idols, Nietzsche refused to play along. He wasn't here to hate, and he sure wasn't here to flatter. Instead, he grabbed a lantern and shone it into the shadows we all pretend aren't there. What he saw wasn't pretty, but it wasn't ugly either. It was raw. To him, the dance between men and women wasn't some sweet fairy tale of equality or a rosy glow of perfect love. No, he called it what it was, a game of instinct, power, and survival. Not the kind of power you see in boardrooms or battlefields, but something deeper, something baked into our bones. He didn't sugarcoat it. Relationships weren't about harmony. They were about two forces circling each other, each with their own moves, their own stakes. And here's the wild part. The more you squint at the world today, the dating apps, the arguments, the unspoken rules, the more his take starts to feel like a mirror we can't unsee. But hold up. This isn't about pointing fingers or picking winners. Nietzsche wasn't throwing shade at women or puffing up men. He was daring us to drop the script we've been handed and look at what's really ticking beneath the surface. No fluff, no comfort, just a cold, hard stare at the forces shaping how we connect, clash, and keep going. He's not offering a warm hug or a pat on the back. He's handing you a challenge. See it for what it is. If you're sick of the polished lies and ready to wrestle with something real, stick around, because Nietzsche's lens might just flip everything you thought you knew upside down. What if the love you've been chasing isn't what you think? Picture this. You're caught up in a moment, maybe a late night talk or a fleeting glance, and you feel that rush, that spark we all call love. But Nietzsche steps in here with a twist that stings. He says men don't actually love women, not the real ones standing in front of them. Instead, they fall for a ghost, a shimmering idea they've built in their heads. It's a safety net, a fantasy that makes them feel secure, inspired, maybe even a little superior. He called this romantic glow a dangerous lie, not because it's cruel, but because it's a trick we play on ourselves. We dress women up as these perfect creatures, sweet, pure, fragile, a moral compass to guide us home. But to Nietzsche, that's not admiration, it's a dodge. It's men ducking the messy, untamed truth of who women really are. Why? Because facing that means staring down something wild and complex, something that doesn't fit neatly into a savior's cape or a damsel's dress. So they craft this illusion, turn women into symbols of virtue, beauty, emotional rescue. And in the process, they strip away the real stuff, the grit, the depth, the humanity. It's not love, it's a script. And here's where it gets psychological. Nietzsche saw this as cowardice, a fear so deep men can't admit it. Fear of a woman who doesn't need saving, who's free in ways they can't control. They'd rather hide behind the fairy tale than wrestle with reality. When that mask slips, when the real woman breaks through, men don't cheer. They feel betrayed. Not because she's changed, but because their dream couldn't hold. Nietzsche's point hits hard. To love like that, you've got to blind yourself first. And if that's true, what does it say about us, about what we're really chasing when we say, I love you, stick with me? This rabbit hole's just getting started. Think strength always roars? Nietzsche didn't. To him, women weren't the fragile figures society made them out to be. They were masters of a different kind of power, one that doesn't shout, but hums beneath the noise. It's not the flex of muscles or the clang of swords. It's subtler, sharper, and damn near unstoppable. History didn't hand women thrones or armies, doors slammed shut, power locked away. So they adapted. They carved their own path, not with fists, but with finesse. Nietzsche saw it. Women learned to sway the world from the shadows, wielding charm like a blade, threading emotional precision through every move. While men stormed ahead, building empires with steel and speeches, women shaped the ones holding the reins, quietly, deliberately, without ever needing a crown. It's a power that doesn't demand attention, it just takes it. He wasn't blind to how they'd turn a smile into influence, a whisper into loyalty, a glance into protection, all without lifting a finger in force. This wasn't weakness dressed up as grace, it was survival turned into art. Dig into that, and it's pure psychology. They cracked the code of what moves us, desire, ego, pride, and played it like a chessboard they'd memorized blind. Nietzsche admired this, but he didn't stop there. He warned us, don't sleep on it. This quiet strength isn't soft, it's steel wrapped in silk, hard to spot and harder to resist. He flipped the script on his time, where women were pegged as passive, helpless. Nope, he said, they're calculating, intuitive, fully aware of the ripples they set off. Not victims, but tacticians. It's not flattery, it's a wake-up call. In a world that tried to box them in, they built a game of their own. One where the real power lies in knowing exactly when to stay silent. That's the twist. The loudest voice isn't always the strongest. And Nietzsche, he saw it coming a mile away. Ever notice how much we live for the shiny stuff? The way things look, not what they are? Nietzsche did, and he saw women turn that into a superpower. In a world that judged them by their surface, they didn't just play along, they owned it. To him, this wasn't about vanity, it was about survival, a razor-sharp instinct honed over centuries. Power wasn't theirs to grab outright, no titles, no armies, so they flipped the script. They made the outside their weapon, crafting how they're seen with a precision that's almost eerie. Beauty, grace, that soft smile you can't look away from. Not decorations, but tools, keys to unlock what people crave, comfort, desire, a story they want to believe. Nietzsche clocked this. Humans don't love truth. They love what feels true, what sparkles just right. Women got that in their bones. They learned to shape perception, not to trick, but to thrive in a game stacked against them. It's Psychology 101. Control the mask, and you control the room. A tilt of the head, a well-timed pause. They knew it could shift empires without a single shout. While others dismissed it as just femininity, he saw genius, a quiet mastery of the symbolic, the art of making people fall for the frame, not the picture. They didn't react to the world, they bent it, threading influence through every glance, every word. In a society that pegged their worth to appearances, they turned the cage into a throne. Nietzsche wasn't fooled. He knew this wasn't shallow. It was deep, a calculated dance with how we tick. The mask isn't the face, sure, but they understood it's the mask that matters most. And here's the kicker. By owning how they're perceived, they didn't just survive, they rewrote the rules. It's power you don't see coming, and that's why it works. So next time you catch that glow, ask yourself, who's really pulling the strings? Let's peel back the curtain on something we rarely question: morality. Society loves to frame it as this pure, unshakable truth, especially for women. Think humility, patience, the selfless glow. But Nietzsche, he saw right through the shine. To him, it wasn't some divine gift women carried. It was a weapon, forged in a world that locked them out of raw power. Imagine being stuck in a game where muscle and might called the shots, where you couldn't kick down doors or lead the charge. What's the move? You don't fight the rules, you bend them. That's what Nietzsche caught. Women didn't cling to virtue because it was noble. They wielded it to survive. Those soft traits we praise, they turned them into shields, carving influence from a system built to keep them small. He didn't scoff at it as fake. He tipped his hat to the genius. When they spoke of fairness, he heard a quiet strategy. When they leaned on sacrifice, he saw a chess play, not out of spite, just pure, primal need. In a man's world, they spun dependence into a kind of strength, a moral mask that disarmed without a flicker of force. It's psychological judo. Flip the weight of your opponent against them. Society bought it hook, line, and sinker, hungry for a story that kept everything neat. But Nietzsche wasn't fooled. Behind the glow of goodness, he saw instinct kicking in, preservation wrapped in principles, control stitched into silence. They didn't just play the game, they rigged it from the inside, making weakness look like a crown. And that's the twist. What we call virtue wasn't their burden, it was their blade, honed over centuries of being told, stay put, stay with me. This is where it gets real. Picture a storm brewing on the horizon, quiet at first, but unstoppable once it hits. Nietzsche saw it coming over a century ago. Women stepping out of the shadows, shaking off the roles history nailed them into. He didn't blink at this, he braced for it. Back then, the script was clear, passive, obedient, tucked away in domestic corners. But even in that rigid world, he caught the sparks, questions flickering, challenges rising, a shift no one could ignore. To him, this wasn't just change, it was a reckoning. Women weren't weak, their strength had been misread, veiled in softness for too long. And what happens when that veil drops? When they stop leaning on men for protection, validation, or a sense of self? Nietzsche didn't cheer or cringe, he predicted chaos, not because women couldn't handle it, but because most men weren't wired for it. Think about it. A guy raised to feel bigger by default, suddenly facing a woman who doesn't need his shield or his paycheck. That's not a handshake moment, it's a gut punch. He saw resentment brewing, not respect. A knee-jerk reaction from a world built on comfy lies. This wasn't hate talking, it was foresight. A woman unbound becomes a force, direct, bold, no longer whispering from the wings. She's not playing the old game of charm or moral high ground. She's rewriting it, unapologetically herself. Nietzsche knew that kind of shift doesn't slide in smoothly. It rattles everything. Love, power, identity. cracking the foundations we've stood on forever. The old rules, they don't hold when she stops asking permission. He didn't write this to judge, he wrote it to warn. The future wouldn't be tidy or balanced. It'd be messy, loud, a clash that forces us all to redefine who we are. And that storm? It's not just coming, it's here. Ready to face it? Strip away the poetry, and what's left of love? Nietzsche didn't see a gentle union. He saw a war zone, raw and unfiltered. Men and women don't glide into harmony. They collide, driven by clashing instincts under a thin veil of romance. Men chase an ideal, projecting dreams of beauty and rescue onto women, craving a salve for their souls. Women, though, their love cuts sharper, less fantasy, more anchor, a hunt for strength and stability in a world that's rarely kind. It's not a sweet duet, it's a tug-of-war, masked in flowers and soft words. He didn't flinch from the truth. Beneath the glow, it's calculation. Two sides shaping each other, vying for control, calling it unity. Love's no peace treaty, it's the sneakiest battlefield of all. But here's where Nietzsche flips it. What if we could break the cycle? Imagine both dropping the act. No more illusions, no more games. Men stop crafting goddesses, women quit weaving webs. What's left isn't chaos, it's a shot at something real. Picture standing face to face, not as savior or pawn, but as equals in the mess of it all, flawed, fierce, and free. It's not easy. It demands torching the fairy tales, shedding the bitterness of what's been lost. Men let go of the sting when she doesn't need them. Women release the rage of old cages. That's the pivot. Love stops being a power grab and becomes a mirror, brutal, honest, reflecting who we are, not who we wish to be. Nietzsche knew most won't reach it, too comfy in the lies, too scared of the dark. But for those who dare, it's not just connection, it's transformation, built on shared grit, not borrowed dreams. This isn't surrender, it's strategy turned inside out, a chance to meet in the ashes and rise. Want that? Then step into the fire. So here we are, at the edge of Nietzsche's lens, staring down a truth that doesn't flinch. You've walked this far, peeling back layers of love, power, and identity. And it's not the cozy picture we're sold. It's jagged, real, maybe a little unsettling, but that's the point. Nietzsche didn't drag us through this to leave us comfortable. He wanted us awake. What he saw in women and men, in the dance between them, wasn't a script to follow. It was a mirror to face. And now that you've looked, there's no unseeing it. The way you think about that next date, that quiet tension with someone you care about, even the reflection staring back at you, it's all shifted. Not because the world changed, but because you're seeing it without the haze. This isn't about answers tied up in a bow. It's about questions that stick with you, rattling around long after the screen goes dark. Love's not a fairy tale, it's a reckoning. Power's not just loud, it's in the silence too. And identity? That's yours to wrestle with, not borrow from someone else's playbook. Nietzsche's gamble was simple. If you strip away the illusions, what's left might scare you, but it'll free you too. So take this with you. Let it simmer. Next time you feel that pull, that spark, ask yourself, is it real or just another mask? You've got the tools now to cut through the noise, to see love and power for what they are, not what they pretend to be. This isn't the end, it's a start. A chance to rethink everything, to stand a little taller in the chaos. If that stirs something in you good, hold on to it. Because once you see through Nietzsche's eyes, the old ways don't fit anymore. Where you go from here, that's on you.